Yeah.
But in August, are you at that point in time? Are you focusing on campaigns, or are you just focusing on Obamacare?
We did a series of ads in a half a dozen states that focused on the worst aspects of the law, but did not mention individual members of Congress or the Senate. And we did that for most of August. We did that in North Carolina, Louisiana, and a few other states as well. But so it only zeroed in on the impact that the law was going to have on folks and did not mention individual members. And then starting in September, in those same states where we had done the other earlier ads, we began doing ads mentioning the individual members. Okay. And so, and we've also done by now a couple of hundred town hall meetings or other local grassroots events. Not rallies, not bus tour rah-rah rallies,
okay,
but more town hall meetings and public information meetings, more so. Because, I mean, the base clearly dislikes this law. The Republican or the conservative base dislikes the law. So the goal is to hopefully reach folks in the middle. Yeah, a lot of liberals don't like it either, Joe, you're right. But the goal is to try to reach folks in the middle. And frankly, that audience is, it skews female and it skews younger. One of the things that we found as we've really studied this law and healthcare in general is that women are the prime healthcare decision makers, and very often they're making decisions or helping make decisions for 3 generations. Obviously for themselves, and if they're married, for a spouse. Often if they have children, for children, and then more and more you have aging parents who are dealing with this dementia epidemic that we're seeing, with Alzheimer's being the primary disease. And so they're helping make very tough decisions for aging parents, often not just for their parents, but for if they're married, for their spouse's parents as well. So they are greatly interested in what this law means for them, because they're making so many tough decisions.
So when you're talking about, say, aging parents, their concern would be more along the lines of what it means for Medicare?
Well, what it means specifically for access to doctors and access to individual treatments, because most of the experts who've studied Obamacare have come to the conclusion that they don't use the word rationing, but you've got to, at a certain point, they have these quality of life indexes that Obamacare, once it's fully implemented, will have. And the purpose of these quality of life indexes will be to determine when Obamacare will pay for a hip replacement or a knee replacement or a certain cancer treatment, based on a formula that says how much and how long quality of life does an individual American have, potentially, according to our actuaries. And we obviously don't like that. We think that's a bad idea, but that's one of the primary concerns with aging parents.
And what's the potential for the for your youth target group? I mean, you've got the bulletproof population,
right?
I mean,
the Invincibles, I guess what they're called. Yeah,
the Invincibles.
Yeah, that's what they call them anyway. That's what the Obama folks call them. The message to them is really simple. Obamacare wants to pay for the bureaucracy it's creating and for all of the adverse impacts it's creating for many Americans by taking a whole lot of extra money from people who are relatively healthy and aged 20 to 35, especially males, but really everyone 20 to 35. And so as usual, it's young people who are being chosen to really fund a large new government social welfare bureaucracy. And that's what Obamacare is predicated on. They're open about it, to their credit. I'll give them full credit. They say, hey, look, we've got to sign up these young folks who are relatively healthy, or the economic model doesn't work. And so far, you probably saw those stories out over the weekend, the initial studies by the government shows that they're not hitting the mark for percentage of young Americans who are relatively healthy signing up for Obamacare. So far, the market sample that's signing up is much older and so far much sicker than the models indicate are necessary for this thing to work economically.
I'm curious about something. We could step back for a minute. When you talk about rolling out, sort of rolling out this ad portion of your campaign.
Right.
You mentioned Montana,
Michigan and Iowa.
And Iowa. Boy, Steve Gaines is highly favored in his race. I'm curious, what's your feeling about the races in the other two states?
This is an issue effort, so this isn't an electoral effort, so we're not looking at polling data and trying to figure out who wins or who loses. We want to make sure that we're holding accountable these legislators, both hitting them for bad votes, for those who've opposed repealing Obamacare, and thanking the guys who have stood up and called for the repeal of Obamacare. And one thing we hear a lot, frankly, from folks who vote right most of the time, is that, hey, we only hear from you when you're angry about something. You never actually say thank you when we vote the right way. And I thought when we went back and looked at how we spent money over the last 6 to 8 years, we found that, frankly, that was true. We do spend both against Republicans and Democrats. I mean, the Farm Bill happened back in the summer. And I know that's a sensitive issue in a lot of districts, a lot of states. I understand that, I do. But we did. We opposed that Farm Bill. It spent way too much on food stamps, and it did not reform a program that has grown beyond anyone's thoughts or expectations on the food stamp side, and the subsidy programs as well. And so we were really, in that situation, really kind of hitting Republicans, because most Republicans in the House, you need them to vote no, or a good chunk of them.
I would imagine you oppose the Farm Bill as it currently exists also, as it's being conferred. I mean, it hasn't changed that much.
No, it hasn't, and we oppose it. We don't, and I know that's sensitive in a lot of districts, a lot of states, and I understand and respect that. There is improvement in that, at this moment anyway, the agricultural corporate subsidy portion has been split from the food stamp portion. But we're hearing they're going to combine the two back together in one big bill, and it's not going to stay. And that's not good. I mean, at this point you have, I think it's over 50 million Americans on food stamps, $80 billion annually.
I think it's a given that those are going to be married back up.
We hope, yeah, I think it is happening, I do. And that makes the bill the same thing we've always had, this alliance between people who, on the left, who want more food stamp social welfare spending and no requirements, no change to the waste and the abuse that's in the program, and you marry them up with folks who want the continued corporate subsidies, and it's very frustrating. It's not good for the country. You can do it better, and we think it's best to split them up. But anyways, I say all that to say, we often hit Republicans and Democrats, and so we do want to thank some of the members who are doing the right thing. And on Obamacare, we decided to do that here with Representative Daines and other districts as well.
I'm curious, in light of now this was one, you had guys who really took a stand on this. Really took a stand on this. So over the budget bill last fall.
Right.
Okay. Took a stand. Government shuts down. These guys said, you're going to take care of Obamacare, or you're not going to get our votes.
Right.
Now these guys look like they're going to go for an omnibus.
Yeah, we oppose the.
I mean, how do you?
A couple of things. One, we did not.
I mean, in one sense, you could say, well, good job in September.
We didn't. No, we disagreed. We disagreed with them. We did not think the defunding strategy was the way to go. And we were open in that. And Joe, I know you commented openly, and our whole organization commented openly, that we felt that combining the budget process and Obamacare was not the right way to go. It could potentially cause you to lose the sequester, which is what happened. It's a devastating loss on the sequester, and we were deeply disappointed by that. But we actually did not support the defunding effort that led to the shutdown in the fall. We thought it was. We think that any realistic effort to repeal Obamacare is necessarily a multi-year effort. I mean, the president's already said he'll veto anything that weakens his law, and that this is his, quote, signature achievement. And so it's a multi-year effort, and we know that. And so we thought the shutdown and the defund strategy in the fall was just not a good strategy.
And what would you point to as examples of sort of chiseling away at Obamacare over the last couple of years?
Medicaid expansion. We opposed Medicaid expansion in every single state. And in years past, the Medicaid expansion would have been a fait accompli in just about every state, really, because they look at it and go, oh, it's free money. Well, we know it's not free money, of course, but they would have looked at it that way. And we have full-time staff in 34 states and a strong infrastructure. We spent roughly somewhere between $10 and $12 million from the moment the Supreme Court decision showed that you could stop Medicaid expansion on a state-by-state basis. From the time that happened up until this very moment, we've spent somewhere between $10 and $12 million, a lot of staff time doing rallies, events, individual pressure from activists to state legislators and to governors. In some states, that's going after and really hitting Democrats, but in a lot of states, it's Republicans. Florida has been one of the hottest battles over Medicaid expansion, and there you have a Republican governor who wants the expansion, and us and others opposing him. And the Chamber of Commerce in a lot of states, which is often an ally on issues, they're opposed to us in a lot of states on this. Not the national chamber, but the state chambers. Very often, they want that extra money. And then the hospital associations and the insurance companies usually want Medicaid expansion too. So one other effort on the Obamacare has been the state exchange effort. Is the moment the law passed, the states were given the option of doing their own exchanges. And early on, a lot of states with Republicans that have said, well, we need to do these exchanges because it means that we control how the exchanges work. But when you actually looked at the law, it pretty strictly details what they have to offer and how they have to do it. So we urged them not to do it. So we fought the creation of these exchanges. And I think that was a good decision looking back now. And so this has been a long-term, multi-year effort already for us, and we expect it to be a long-term effort that'll go well beyond 2014.
So you thought the exchange portion of the deal was best just left up to the feds?
Make them do it, yeah.
Which is what
most states did.
Right.
Yeah, it was 30. I think it was 30. I think it was 35 total states who said no in the end to it. I think that's right. And maybe 14 or 15 actually did the exchange.
Interesting. So why roll out the ads now?
Because public awareness is at a heightened level because of the focus, because of the impact of the law. I mean, 5 million Americans have lost their health insurance according to the estimates out there right now from the government, not us. That's when you look at the family members and the friends and others, that's 25, 35, 40 million Americans who directly know someone relatively close to them who've lost their health insurance because of Obamacare. Millions more have tried to go onto the website, and it's been impossible or very difficult for them. And so public awareness is heightened at a level that we may not see again for a while. And so we want to be out there in the middle of that when the public's already focused and the ground is fertile to go ahead and explain the impact this law is having on people's lives.
Do you think this will be less of an issue come November?
No, I don't, but I know that awareness is heightened whenever you have a new law taking effect, and it's a law that deals with an issue area that is so personal to Americans. And so I think the law will be, our goal is to make this law the #1 issue on the minds of Americans until it's eventually repealed. I know that's hard, I get that. And there'll be ebb and flows. There'll be a couple of weeks or months when maybe it drops. We get that. But we want to have an ongoing push that combines, ads in certain states at certain times on television, radio, and with public information events and town halls and digital and social media and everything else over a long period of time. We think that's our best opportunity to do that. Joe, I cut you off though.
Well, just interesting, Tom, you asked me that question on the phone the other day and I started to answer it. But I thought, I'm going to wait and let Tim answer it, but I'll just interject my response to it real quick. You talked about November when you asked me the question also. And my response is that the #1, again, AFP does not focus on election.